best friend.
Could the United States and Russia ever be allies? What would that mean for the world? What could be done to bring us closer to a world where the two countries who control 90% of the world's nuclear weapons get along better? This is the place where those ideas and so many more get broken down, brainstormed, expanded on, and compiled. This is the place where no idea is a bad idea except the bad ideas and no ideas, because the more ideas you hear, the more likely you are to hear a good one. Welcome to the Brain Trust. I'm your host, the Dolphin Radio, and tonight we have Placeholder, Cassie, and Chairview to discuss U.S.-Russian relations and how they can be made better. Guys, do your thing.
Well, first off, I want to say the people who are opposed to the United States government speaking with the Russian government and yet are in favor of globalization are being extremely hypocritical. Mm-hmm. If we are going to globalize, we need to include Russia because they're the only other gun that's big enough to kill the world.
Yeah, they also have like a 2-digit percentage of the geographical landmass of the planet, so that's worth taking into account.
Yeah. Plus, Obama, Clinton, and Bush all visited with Putin, so it's not anything new. But I think him backtracking is just full of crap. He meant to say what he said. Honestly, with Trump's just not. I don't think he's that good of a speaker. You know, that's part of his issues. But
that reminded me. I saw a meme today. It was literally the greatest meme I think I have ever seen in my entire life because it really touched my heart in a lot of ways. It was a meme of Wolf Blitzer asking, "So you don't trust our 17 intelligence agencies?" And then right below it, a picture of JFK saying, "No, sir, I do not." And it was the most beautiful thing in the history of meme warfare ever launched. It was like a Patriot missile with fucking flares. It was gorgeous. But no, I don't trust our intelligence agencies because the first part of intelligence is to lie to everybody around you.
Well, and I love how everything that Trump does becomes a meme like instantly.
Yeah. He's like the greatest bait fisherman in the world. He just tosses it out there and they all fucking bite it. Anyway, we're getting off subject. We really need to talk about U.S.-Russia relations. Mm-hmm. How do we make them better? And I actually have some thoughts on this because I feel like the past 100 years, we've kind of been told that we're supposed to hate each other, but I have yet to see any real legitimate reason why. It's kind of like, why is pot illegal to begin with? It's like, why do we actually hate the Russians to begin with? Well, what's that all about? I mean, I get the Cold War, but before that, if you go back to the 1800s, we were allies from like 1812 all the way up until Teddy Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
And not only were we allies, they were the first nation that we were considering a military alliance with. We scrapped it when Teddy Roosevelt came to office and basically said, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
If I knew a little bit more about Russian history, I would be able to comment a little bit more on that. For me, it's mainly the fact that, like, we don't like Putin.
But why not?
I mean, Russians, don't get me wrong. We like the prospect of being friends with the Russians. We just don't like Putin.
But why not? I mean, like, if you look at Putin's record, he basically walked in, kicked all the oligarchs out of office, deposed them, threw them in prison, confiscated their goods, and put them in the treasury of the state because they had originally got them from stealing them from the state.
Because Putin is a ex-KGB.
Yeah, which means he knew all the secrets, which means he knew exactly who to throw in jail.
Right, but he also has a terrible human rights record. That's the biggest thing, is the human rights record. Like, we don't like Putin because Putin doesn't like the gays. Putin doesn't like trans people.
I don't think Putin doesn't like the gays. I think that he doesn't think it has a good impact on society. But the law that they passed, and I want to clarify this because I've looked into this because I got in a big argument about this, and I had to go actually look into it and then fucking translate a Russian law, which is god-awfully impossible. But I actually had to translate it, and basically what it says is you cannot teach children about sex acts or sexuality as a part of sex education. Sex education should be limited to how reproduction works, but you're not to talk about sexuality or sex acts. Like, you can't talk about giving blowjobs or the missionary position or no.
Why?
Because they don't want it in public schools. Now, the private schools are not banned at all. There's no restriction at all. They could teach them whatever they want in private school in Russia, and Russia does have private schools. But any state-funded school has to obey this rule that you can't teach kids about. You can't teach them, oh, by the way, you know, gay sex is done like this, and no, you can't do that. That's against the law, in state-funded schools. That's the anti-gay law, by the way. That's the entirety of it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't throw gays off buildings.
No.
Well, I mean, government-sanctioned officials don't.
They actually
throw people
have
off.
gay pride parades in Russia, and they don't like shoot them. You know. I don't know if you guys knew that, but there are gay pride parades in Russia. They're very angry, defiant gays because the Russian state is still kind of like, I don't know about this. But you know, our country was really no different 20 years ago.
Mm. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true. But here's the difference. Like, they have a. I know that we also have a history of doing this, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this is a point in favor of us or against the Russians. We're extreme. Like, our foreign policy is very hypocritical on this. They just back dictators that are opposed to us, and we back dictators that are opposed to them. It's still very much the Cold War mentality, because while, yes, when the Soviet Union fell, we were no longer technically in any kind of conflict with Russia, we still are. Like, the memory of the Cold War is still there.
Yeah, can I counter that with a little hope porn?
I mean,
I've got some really great hope porn for you. Think about this. Just imagine this for just a second. The United States government and the Russian government, neither are all right. Let's admit it. We both commit human atrocities. We don't always admit it. We don't always acknowledge it. But,
how many drone strikes have we done in the last 10 years?
Yeah.
And weddings have we done?
Hey, My point is, the United States and Russia, if they could trust each other, sincerely trust each other enough to become military allies, you and I both know that China would follow whatever Russia did, and the UK would begrudgingly follow whatever the United States did. And so would France follow Britain, and thus the dominoes fall. You might get some holdout, stubbornness from Germany, but Germans are stubborn. That's just the way they are. But if you had this alliance between the United States and Russia, and throw in China for good measure, throw in the UK for good measure, and just so that we have a fifth party to break ties, let's go with France, because they've been Russian allies, they've been British allies, they've been all over the map. They're the swing boat. Who the fuck is going to start a war at that point? I mean, honestly, think about that. You have world peace. You've just affected, and you now can maintain world peace. The United States, Russia are allies. That pretty much seals the deal. You kick China in on that, and you're done. That's it. World peace.
It depends on what form that war might potentially take, because we can't. There's no way that we can have just universal world peace. Unfortunately,
You can't. Human nature.
No, it's called peace through strength. So let's say you have this alliance, and Pakistan and India just cannot fucking stop it, and they go to war. The United States, Russia, the UK,
And Montenegro.
Montenegro.
We'll throw them in as the swing boat in this case, because I don't like France. I don't know why. And then China. They all get together and they vote, and they say, okay, we feel like India started this and Pakistan followed suit, so we're going to go in there, we're going to establish peace, and we're going to tell them, look, you either deal with us or you stop fighting.
That worked so well in Afghanistan.
Right.
Yeah, the nation where empires go to die.
Yeah, but it's the same type of. Well, I guess India technically isn't majority Muslim right now. It's majority.
Seriously, Afghanistan killed the Mongols. It killed Alexander the Great. It killed who else do we got? We have the British Empire. We have the Russian, the USSR, and then the United States kind of saw a pretty serious collapse after going into Afghanistan.
Yeah,
it is the place. It is the place where empires go to die.
Mission accomplished.
I will continue, by the way, as a conservative, I will continue to say that Bush is quite possibly the worst president ever. One of the worst presidents ever.
I also have to ask, what the hell happened? They're like, oh yeah, we're going to stay here outside the White House and we're going to protest until Trump gets impeached. I'm pretty sure that protest lasted half a day.
Yeah.
No.
Look, here's the thing.
God.
You have already denigrated the word racist until it means nothing. You have already denigrated the word sexist until it means nothing. Now, when a person has a legitimate gripe, we can't tell. Thank you very much. That being said, you're now going to denigrate the word impeachment until it has no meaning. Please stop. Let's stop. Let's all just calm down, stop being hysterical, and figure out how the United States and Russia can get along better.
My thing is, and I bring it back to the thing I opened with, was we want to globalize. We as a species ought to do that when we become technologically advanced to the point where we can, and we're rapidly approaching that. Yeah. We're going to need them because they have resources, they have people, they have
expertise.
They have amazing scientists that can come from that country. Hopefully they're not communists because, well, Lysenko and everything.
No, of course not. They're capitalists at this point. And I got to say, we have so much more to gain by being allies with Russia than we have to gain by being adversaries of Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the only fucking genetics I don't have in me. I feel crazy standing up for the Russians. It's like the only genetics that's not in me. Like I'm everything else but not Russian. And it just bothers me that America, if you look back on America's history, there's this, and I brought it up in similar, in other live streams and so forth. I want you guys to all think about this for a second. Imagine that you are an invading army. You are going to a country that has defied you over and over, and you're going to put them in their place. You have successfully captured or conquered or destroyed every single major city they have, except for one far-flung port way away from their capital and a city very close to their capital. As far as their capital goes, you burned it to the ground, and the president of their country is fleeing across the river on horseback. You settle in your entire naval fleet around this one single fort that happens to be guarding the port entrance to the city that you want to capture, the last one that's left to capture. And in one night, you drop more ordnance, weight-wise, than was dropped on in all of World War I and World War II combined on that one fort. And the next morning, they raise a really, really big flag. And you go, oh, shit, I lost.
Yeah.
Imagine that's how the war panned out. That's what Americans are taught. That they raised a really big flag the day after the bombing, and the British just gave up. Think about the British positioning. Think about the art of war. You have the entire enemy completely wiped out, conquered, and captured. Why would you give up after one night of shelling and they raise a flag? That's not how wars are fought. That's not how they're won. What happened is the Russians actually stepped in and said, look, you need to either back off or we're going to launch a trade war in the Pacific. And if you want to ship tea from India and China, you're going to kind of need our boats to leave yours alone. So leave the Americans alone. They're a big trade partner. And the British captain actually got those orders 2 days before the bombing of Fort McHenry. And he decided if he could capture Boston in one day, then those orders wouldn't matter because the union would be broken and they would have won the war anyway.
Yeah.
Or no, it was Baltimore. My mistake. Bad Dolphin. Anyway, so basically he shelled it for a night, and when the flag came up, he went, "Well, I've got my orders," and he went back to London, and that was the end of the war. Now the Canadians actually gained a lot from that, and the Canadian, and I've got a Canadian in here who will affirm the end of this story and be like, "Yeah, we got our fucking border," because that war means a lot more to them than it does to us, because we lost that war. If the Russians hadn't stepped in, we wouldn't be a country. And if Andrew Jackson hadn't held New Orleans, we wouldn't be a country.
Mm-hmm.
Those two things, it kept us from losing our country. After that, people don't know this either, but the Russians are the only country in the entire world who have ever sent troops to guard American shores. And only on one occasion in the entire history of America have foreign troops come to defend our shores. Have they showed up, said, "Here are our orders, you tell us what to do"? This only happened one time. And it was in 1863 during the Civil War. And it was Russia.
Yeah.
And anyone want to fact check me on that? Call me wrong? Feel free. Try it out. The flagship of the Atlantic Fleet was called the Alexander Nevsky, and they showed up in Washington, D.C. They went up the Potomac River. They showed up in New York. There were gala events. There are newspaper clippings. You can pull them up on microfilm. It's great. If Americans understood that the United States and Russia haven't always been at war, we once were great friends and allies. Maybe we could get back to that point and we could stop all this tension.
Unfortunately, as much as I would like for that to happen, and I think that it's potentially, feasible at some point, the problem is we have a core group of ideologically motivated individuals, both conservative and progressive, that are opposed to the very idea of Russia having anything to do with us and of any countries existing, essentially.
Well, then they need to be voted out of office, because we need representatives, senators, judges, and administrators who are going to say, you know what, we should get along with every country that we can.
Yeah.
I would like for that to happen, but what we have to do is we have to get a certain kind of globalist in power, and there are different kinds of globalism.
I like national globalism. What's wrong with national globalism? It's kind of like a Republican democracy.
Okay, because then we wouldn't truly be a globalized.
No,
we wouldn't be a globalized species.
No, we'd be subservient to no supreme global government. Period. But we'd have a collection of international trade and defense agreements. And I honestly, like I said, if you could get the U.S., the UK, Russia, China, and let's say France, or I'll even throw Germany, all into one alliance, similar to NATO, where look, we're going to basically be the peacekeepers of the world, and you guys are going to settle all your agreements through our joint 5-country court that decides who's right and who's wrong, and or you can go to war with us.
Well,
so
listen to this.
Who are we to impose our will on other sovereign states?
I'm not saying we're imposing our will. We shouldn't impose our will on other sovereign states. We would be no. We would be the court of mitigation for all international issues between other states. Basically, let's say Sudan and South Sudan. This is an issue already, right? So let's bring that up. Sudan and South Sudan. Basically, the international court sends requests for liaisons from both sides, and they say, look, we're going to intervene in a little while, and we're going to basically put peacekeepers on your borders that shoot in either direction if people come running for the border.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what's going to happen because you guys obviously can't get along.
Right, but that's us telling them.
Mm-hmm. That is
That's
us.
imposing our
It's
will.
called. It is. It's called peace through strength. It's saying
Right.
stop fighting, or we're going to come in and represent the people you are now fighting.
I just found something interesting that's relevant. The Russian embassy in the U.S. said, posted this. It says the Russian Defense Ministry is ready for the practical implementation of agreements in the area of global security reached in Helsinki between Putin and Trump. The ministry spokesman said. He said that the Russian military was ready to intensify contacts with American colleagues at the level of general staffs and through other available channels of communication to discuss extension of the START treaty, the interaction in Syria, and other topical issues of military security.
Oh, that is really great news.
And that meeting was like, it said that, Putin attended his first face-to-face meeting with Trump. So that makes me think that there's going to be more meetings that they have together. So.
I like the hearing that. And by the way, it's not treason to meet with the president of Russia. Basically, every politician in America has already done it.
Why is it treason to want to try and prevent a possible nuclear incident in the future? Like, I don't get it. To
It's
prevent
not.
another Cold War. Like, why is that treasonous?
It's not. This is people that are so deranged at this point because they just hate Trump. I can't come up with any other solution to this problem.
Now, what Trudeau did was basically treasonous, where he went down to Cuba and was giving the guy gifts and paying him money and shit. That's a totally different story.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm I'm completely ignorant of this story.
No, it wasn't Cuba. It was the Aga Khan, but same thing. But I don't know.
No, let's get back to.
I know.
What could this mean? What do you guys think, Cassie? You haven't really been talking a lot. What do you think it would mean? I know the moonshine's hitting you. I know you're like
no,
in the
my
sun.
voice. My voice is completely shot.
You've been screaming at the kids all day, haven't you?
No, their kids aren't here right now.
Oh, tell your husband. Well done. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Anyway, what do you?
I don't have a husband. I don't have a husband. So, chair.
By the way, guys, please go follow Cassie. She is a riot on Twitter. She's a really great person, and she came in even though she can barely talk. She really can barely talk. I'm just messing with her about that.
Hashtag make Cassie great again.
Yeah, hashtag repair Cassie's voice again.
I think somebody would agree with that.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get back. I'm sorry. As a married guy, I figure everyone's married because I'm a, bigot like that.
Because you're a masochist.
Yeah, I jumped right in that line of where do I sign up to lose half my shit? Sorry, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
if Trump and Putin got married, though, who would keep the United States?
Oh my god.
I don't know. They're pretty aggressive male personalities.
By the way, people are commenting on this thing.
Have you guys
saying it's treason, but they don't understand what actually happened at those meetings? Like nobody.
Have you guys seen? Heard the story about Putin? About how he has a Super Bowl ring?
Yeah. No. What?
What? Wow.
Putin has a Super Bowl ring. I don't remember who it was that went to Russia and had the opportunity. They called him up and they said, "Hey, Mr. Putin wants to see you. He found out you were in Russia and he'd like to invite you to a state dinner and all this other stuff." And the guy was like, "Oh God, yeah, fuck yeah! You get invited by the president of Russia, you go." And when he was meeting with Putin, and I don't think Putin intended on this to happen, but he met Putin and he was wearing a Super Bowl ring. And Putin saw it and he's like, "Oh, that's nice. I like that. What is that?" And he goes, "Oh, that's my Super Bowl ring." He goes, may I take a look at it?" And the Super Bowl guy's telling this, and he hands it to Putin. Putin looks at it and he's like, "Oh, look, let me try it on. I've got to do a Russian accent. Let me try on. Oh, look, that worked right on, perfect on the ring finger. Oh, I will wear this for dinner tonight. Okay, you will come with me. Come on, let's go." And he brought the guy, and the guy was like, he didn't have the balls to be like, "Dude, give me my ring back." He was like, "You don't say that to the Russian president." And Putin just never gave it back to him, and he never had the balls to ask for it back. He's like, "Dude, you don't understand. When you're meeting Putin, it's kind of like meeting James Bond meets like Vito Corleone. You know, you don't really want to fuck with this." It's like, okay, well, makes sense.
Mhm.
So yeah, Vladimir Putin has a Super Bowl ring. I think a good way to mend relations would be for him to give the ring back.
I think so too.
That would.
You know who we should send?
What?
We should send in order to retrieve it. Dennis Rodman.
Yes.
He can trade. He can trade one of his NBA championship rings for it. And a nose ring, just for good measure.
Yeah.
He's got enough. No, I got to say, I was really impressed with North Korea's outcome, but I'm not impressed with Kim Jong-un. Is it Un or Il? Which one are we on?
We're on Kim Jong-un.
Okay, Un. So I'm not really that impressed with him. He kind of looked very meek. He looked like he was looking for Donald Trump's assurance on literally everything. Like every time he said something, you'd look to him and be like, "Oh, okay, I sign now. Okay, I sign now."
I mean, okay.
I was not this guy gunned down his uncle with an AA gun.
When you're like 6 inches shorter than your South Korean counterpart just because of bad nutrition, and you have Donald Trump towering over you, like...
I gotta admit, Donald Trump's intimidating. He's a fucking intimidating dude. I'll give him that.
He can be, when he's not being an idiot.
He's got that very stern look. Like, I'd feel like I did something wrong just by being in his presence. I really do. Like, he's got that dad look, like the ultimate dad look. It fucking scares me. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I feel like I've done something wrong. But when I see him looking, like when he looks right at the camera, you're like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry." I can't help it.
Stop demonizing Russia, Zero says.
Yeah, no, I'm totally down with that. Look, we had it up until McKinley got shot, and I'm not a fan of McKinley. Don't get me wrong, I hate McKinley. He was terrible economic policies, but right up until McKinley got shot, we were on the verge of signing our first defensive military alliance with Russia. And if most Americans knew that today, that our first ever military defensive alliance was the first NATO ever would have been a pact between the United States and Russia, they'd be like, "What? Huh?" You know, it's kind of like that moment. I don't know if you guys watch Archer. You guys, anybody here watch Archer?
Mm-hmm.
I love that show.
A great show. Did you see The Holdout? The episode where he goes into the jungle to like retrieve a computer from a plane, and he meets this guy that's been there since World War II.
I think so.
Yeah, the guy's asking him about history, and he's like, he explains that after the war, he's like, "So America are communist now?" And he's like, "No, after the war, you know, things got weird with Russia, and then it's like now it's okay."
Isn't this the plot? Isn't this the plot of Skull Island?
It's the plot of like 500 different shows.
On Skull Island, on the new Kong movie, they go there, and the guy's been there for like since World War II or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's actually originally from the $5 Million Man,
Yeah.
but I could be wrong. Anyway, it's based on a true story. There's a guy that was on an island in a jungle for a long time, and they actually had to go find his old commanding officer, like in a factory. He was like a supervisor in a factory somewhere, and they had to like dress him up in his old uniform and bring him out into the jungle and be like, "Hey, man, you're relieved from duty already." To get him to come out because he didn't trust anybody. He thought they were all spies.
Yeah, in this other case, they were like, "Oh, did we beat the Nazis?" And it's like, but because it's been so long that he just doesn't know what the hell's going on anymore.
I mean, you can go into parts of Siberia where they don't realize the Tsar is dead. It's crazy remote out there in Russia.
It does remind me though that a lot of these people who are talking about this whole situation don't know shit about it.
No, I'm very fond of learning all kinds of history, and the kinds of history I like to study the most are the ones that you don't get taught in school. I like studying things like Roman history is boring to me. It's incredibly boring. I've heard it like 500,000 times. I like hearing African history. I like hearing Asian history. I want to hear Russian history. I want to hear Aztec history. So I go and research those things. And when I look into Russia and its history, I'm like, wow, this was actually a really amazing nation.
Just remember one thing, Dolphin.
What's that?
Degenerates like you belong on the cross.
I'm Eastern. No. I'm gonna go full disclosure. I have no Russian blood, but I am Eastern Orthodox Catholic. So,
ew.
We got stupid shit on here. Like, okay, someone posted the
dude. Okay. Eastern Orthodox Catholic is like Roman Catholic, but without all the guilt.
You realize I was raised Roman Catholic, right?
Yeah, I'm not very fond of the Roman Catholics. You guys destroyed our religion. And yes, you destroyed our religion. I'm not going to take that back.
So someone just posted something that's a wanted poster with Trump on it, and it says, named alias the great narcissisty grabber in chief. Unusual characteristics, tiny hands, orange face, weird hair, and a pea brain.
The true Pope. Yeah, Cassie, the true Pope is in Constantinople, and I'll never call it Istanbul.
I really don't care because I'm not religious at all. I don't care about religion.
I'm totally trolling you. That I don't actually believe that.
I don't really care. Either way. I need to put my
Just know we must reconquer the Holy Land. Dave's Vault.
Hey, Istanbul was Constantinople. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone.
By the way, that protest is still going on at Lafayette Park, but there's only like a couple hundred, maybe.
I love that song.
3 days in a row, they've been protesting and shit. And it's like, they're not going to impeach him, you idiots.
Yeah. There's no grounds.
Yeah.
You have no honest grounds.
Okay, so what is it that they're actually claiming he did that warrants impeachment?
Treason.
Right. Like what? How are they defining treason?
Okay.
Like Obama met
U.S. Constitution Article 3, right? Article 3 says, treason against the U.S. shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. There's no proof that he did that. He didn't. He's comforting Putin apparently by saying, "I don't know."
Look, he patted Putin on the back, but Putin's not our enemy because Obama hit the reset button. What the fuck? I thought we weren't enemies. We're not supposed to be enemies. American people, stop hating Russia. Russia is not a bad place. Honestly, they're very much like us. I've met a lot of Russians who have come here. I worked for a long time before I went back to college. I worked at this warehouse club called Sam's. And a lot of the people that worked at the Sam's Club with me, they were Russian. It's weird because I never knew we had like this little Russian group, this sector in our city. Apparently we're more diverse than I thought, but they're pretty much like Americans in all respects. They like jeans a lot more than we do, I think. But other than that, they're pretty much like Americans. They just want to have families and be normal and free and go to work and pay for their shit and like have nice stuff and maybe a big screen TV.
We can tell what part of Russia they come from based on their clothing. The further east you go, the more denim. The further west, the more tracksuits.
This was a fucking shit. Someone tweeted.
I'll give you that.
They said to Donald Trump, they said, "May your crotch be infested with the fleas of 1,000 camels, and your tiny-handed arms too short to scratch."
Okay. They make sprays for that. And I've got my shots.
Oh, come on. America's Last King. The unsettling parallels between King George III and Donald Trump.
Oh, my God. How hysterical do you have to be? I'm sorry. I don't, there's a point where the tinfoil, I didn't leave the left. The left left me. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. You guys killed me. You're just hilarious. Anyway, Russia could be a great ally. They could be a great asset to the United States. They could be a great resource. They could be a great friend. We could have great trade with them. We could learn a great deal about Arctic exploration. I mean, seriously, we could establish and maintain world peace as allies. Why are you against that if you are? Why could you possibly be against world peace? The potential, not even world peace. I'm not going to be hyperbolic and say if you oppose this, you're against world peace. I'm just asking, why would you be opposed to the potential of the United States and Russia allying and having the potential for world peace in that alliance? Because everybody knows China is going to follow what Russia does. Mm-hmm. So why would you hate that? Why would you be opposed to that? It almost seems counterproductive to a reasonable person.
Someone says that this statement proves treason from 2015. It said, "It may take the election of a Republican to the White House in 2016 to improve relations between the Russian Federation and the United States." That's not treasonous, you idiot.
How is that treasonous?
I don't know.
I mean, if you see, here's my problem. Here's my problem. This is, I think, one of the major reasons I left the left, or the left left me, is because they stopped being about reason. They started being about hating your opponent. Stop being about arguing the points and start arguing about why your opponent is evil.
Yeah.
And that's not an argument. That's an avoidance of an argument.
One of the comments in the chat is, to be honest, if the USA, Russia, and China really dominated the Middle East into submission, we could later turn on the Chinese and rule the world together in liberty.
Yeah, because we're fucking evil like that. No, we don't go back on our word. There's a thing called integrity. People have it.
I mean, LBJ didn't really have it.
Oh, yeah. He's not in the mix.
I mean, Obama didn't particularly have it either. Neither does Trump. Neither does Putin. Neither does Xi Jinping. No world leader has integrity. That's like a requirement to be a world leader, is to not have integrity.
No. If you have integrity, you get shot or you get shot at.
Reagan got shot at.
Yeah. He didn't get killed, but he got shot at. Yeah, I get it. That's why I included that caveat. But
I don't know. Did Garfield have integrity though? Because didn't he get murdered?
I don't think McKinley had integrity. I know Jackson had integrity. He might have hated the Indians, for all you progressives out there who think that's wrong, but he also lived in an era where they would fucking kill you if they saw you. So
that is true.
He had a right to hate the Indians, I think. I'm sorry, Native Americans. I am the host of a.
You're not PC enough.
Yeah, I know. I really need to bone that up.
At least you didn't say like feather not dot or something. You know.
Fuck.
Dude, you really had. It's unsaid if it's unsaid.
I know.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole Native American thing, that's still a big issue too. And it's just like,
yeah, I mean, like, without the... But honestly, when it really comes down to it, we should embrace the idea of having the two nations in the world that control 90% of the nuclear weapons being friends.
Yeah.
That should be a good thing. As long as they're not tyrannical, imposing their will all over the world, building empires.
Like, if you think Hillary's relations with Putin would be good, like...
No. Hillary wanted a no-fly zone in Syria. The generals, and told her that would cause a war with Russia. And she said, well, okay. What's the problem? A war with Russia? Nobody wins that.
Yeah, he had already said it.
Like, that literally means everybody loses. Even the people not fighting lose that war.
Didn't he say something like that? If the second Hillary got elected, he would have hit a button or something, launched some missiles.
Yeah, look.
Well, that was really how... That was a huge part of what informed my vote in 2016. We can survive a trade war far easier than we can survive nukes.
Yeah.
Let me point this out. If we had a full-fledged nuclear war, the only country that has a real chance of long-term survival is New Zealand. And the only reason it has that chance is because it's particularly situated along the southern hemisphere jet stream. That's it. That's the only thing that saves it. All the radiation goes around it.
Yep.
So if you're not living in New Zealand, you should not want a war between the United States and Russia. And if you're living in New Zealand and you want a war between the United States and Russia, you're a fucking asshole. Fuck you.
Well, even sitting here in Canada, I don't want one. It's like...
Of course, you're gonna die too. You think you're gonna be spared? No.
But Canada's winning the trade war. So no, I'm just kidding. We're definitely not. But,
no, you've got bend over Trudeau. I'm sorry. His name was Justin, right?
Justine. Yeah.
Justine.
How dare you misgender such a beautiful, brave woman?
Justine bend over Trudeau.
Well, a woman could probably box better than him, so that's fine.
Probably true.
I love you. I love you for your enthusiasm, Cassie. You're great. You are definitely a permanent member of the Brain Trust.
And everyone does know about the whole, mutually assured destruction thing. That's the thing, is that all the nuclear leaders in the world know this. That's why they haven't really done it, because they know that in the current age we're in, if one person launches something, that everyone else is going to launch something too, and it's just going to be a mess.
Yeah, it's mad.
Because let's face it, the war that would be fought if we went to war with Russia, let's say, it's like most of it would probably be in the air and stuff, and in the sea.
No, let's be honest. If we fought a war with Russia, it would be over in a matter of days, and everybody on Earth would be dead.
Yeah,
and New Zealanders would be sitting there going, "Fuck, we gotta appropriate."
I don't know. Russia
we've got sexual assault laws we gotta worry about that.
Russia might decide that they have enough troops that they wouldn't go the nuclear route. Who knows? But
yeah, I don't agree with that. I think Russia, faced with annihilation, would choose destruction.
Well, it'd be worse though, a fight with China or a fight with Russia. You know?
We don't need a fight with Russia. We need to be friends with Russia. We need to establish world peace. We need to move on beyond this bullshit about sitting there shooting each other with fucking guns and killing each other over pointless things. And let's explore space. What the fuck is wrong with you humans?
See,
but you stole my TV. You stole my TV. So
that's partially why I'm in favor of automation and AI the way I am, is because we can turn them into machines.
And they can be communists. They'll be communists I like.
Well, they'd have miniguns on them, and we can give them to every nation.
If we have communist robots,
I would completely make the military obsolete, and we would no longer need war. We could turn it into the only sport on Earth.
At this point, I'd like to go ahead and pitch that I actually did a video on my YouTube channel, Dolphin Radio, about for those of you who love The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's an expansion of that, and it's about two civilizations that do essentially what you just talked about, and they're so like bogged down in their video games and their TV and their lifestyle magazines that they don't care what the robots do while they fight each other. I mean, how much can you care about war when you're having robots do it for you? The horror is gone.
Yeah, until they become sentient. That's the moment that we're in trouble.
Yeah, you're kind of just setting yourself up for the annihilation of the human species when they realize they've been destruction slaves.
Yeah.
Anyway, that brings us to the wrap up here. The Brain Trust meets every Wednesday night through the Google Hangouts on the Academy Debate channel here on YouTube at 11 p.m. New York time. We keep an open door for anyone with a microphone, a helpful disposition, and at least one idea. So don't be afraid to ask if you can join. And if there's room, we'll let you come on in. That being said, if you join us any given Wednesday night and you're in the chat, Chair and I are both personally monitoring that on a regular basis. If you want to join the conversation, DM us on Twitter. Or just let us know in the chat, and we'll DM you on Twitter. That being said, we're going to go ahead and continue the conversation until we find a good time to end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, the Academy Debate channel is also host to the Academy Debate Show every Friday night at, help me out, Chair, 9 p.m.?
Yep, 9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have a wonderful debate this week. Chair, why don't you go ahead and pitch that one out?
Yeah, on Friday the topic that we picked that we're going to be debating is whether or not Trump's summit in Russia was harmful to the United States or not.
I really don't want this show to undermine the that show, so I will be trying to be as non-biased as possible, as non-Peter Stroke as possible.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for. I think we currently have. I think Iron Wolf is going to be our guest for the that meeting. Did no harm. We are still looking for a debater that believes in the harm that the Putin meeting caused.
Yeah, if you hear this and you're ranting and raving and you want to tell us where our place is, let us know. Please, we're asking you. This is not it's a sincere request. We need a debater to say that, yes, Trump debate or the Trump summit was a harm to the United States. So let us know. Chairview, myself, Placeholder Films. I'm sure you can hit up Cassie the Ragdoll. I'm not sure she can talk back to you right now, but she'll do her best.
I'm fine.
Anyway, we're here every Friday night. Why don't you guys tell us where we can find you? Chairview?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube under Chairview and under Twitter as Chairview, and BitChute some other places. But yeah, that's basically it.
BitChute is our champion. Placeholder, tell us where we can find you.
You can find me on Twitter if you want to go through my old YouTube videos. You're more than welcome to do so. But right now, you can find me mostly at work and in college. So I will be active on the channel as often as I can. However, I can no longer guarantee any regularity. That's unfortunately the reality of the situation.
Awesome, Chairview. Thank you. Cassie, let us know where we can find you.
On Twitter. I can't hardly speak. This is evil. On Twitter.
Go check out Cassie the Ragdoll, hot mess mama, and she will she'll entertain you for hours. I promise you. She's great on Twitter. As for me, I'm Dolphin Radio. You can check me out on YouTube as well as Twitter. My channel is basically, well, it's just a bunch of bullshit. Anyway, we are the Brain Trust. We're here every Wednesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will see you all later.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.